Warning, today's episode of the Seriously Wrong podcast is being consumed. And because you're listening to it, you've been cursed. The next 5 times you eat out at a restaurant, you have to get the salad.
It's a healthy curse.
Yeah, well, who says curses have to be bad?
No one, I guess.
What I'm saying is, curses are underrated. I don't know, are you cursed? I don't know. Do you have to get the salad? Yes, you are cursed.
Hello and welcome to the Seriously Wrong podcast, live from the mall.
It's true, we're at a mall.
We're at a mall.
Today's episode is about consumerism and buying things. Today we're going to buy some diamonds. We're going to buy some Starbucks.
I'm going to swipe that plastic. I'm swiping that plastic and I'm getting some goods.
I am going to fulfill myself from those goods. I'm going to derive my joy in life from the things that I buy today.
Mm-hmm. That's why they call them goods. Yeah. It's because it's an inherent good to own things.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter what it is.
Absolutely.
Or how it was produced.
Or where it came from. Plus, Zizek says that ethical consumption's bullshit, so I'm going to smoke cigarettes and eat factory farm meat. Zizek's right.
I think he's wrong. I think it's all ethical. It's just, if it's consumption, it's inherently ethical. As long as you're consuming,
Yeah, if the market allows it to be sold, then how could it be wrong?
People wouldn't buy it if it was wrong.
Yeah, like for example, blood diamonds. No one would ever spend money on that, and that's why blood diamonds must not exist.
Yeah, because it's not like they could just wipe the blood off.
That could be like a GMO labeling campaign thing, like leave the blood on the blood diamonds, make the consumer see. Yeah, so we were at Metropolis at Metrotown, which is a large mall in Burnaby.
It's the largest mall in Metro Vancouver area, I think.
Is it? Yeah. Feels like it when you're inside. It's like a labyrinth of despair.
And hope.
Yeah, it's also like a fair of despair, or a circus of despair.
But whatever you need, you can buy it here.
Yeah.
Probably. Not pot or Xanax, but besides pot and Xanax, they have most of the things here.
We should try to buy pot here for the show.
Oh, no, it's true. We probably could buy pot. If we could buy Xanax, then I would be impressed with the free market here.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Maybe we should just try and slip in a 20 to someone at a pharmacy.
But yeah, on one hand, there's obviously these enormous brands, these international banks, factory farming, restaurants, and all this shit at the mall, and there's this mindless consumption and stuff, like these easy critiques. But on the other hand, as you mentioned, it's kind of like a cornucopia.
Like when we were coming here, I was like, oh, I need to buy corn tortillas. So before we leave, I'm probably going to buy corn tortillas somewhere.
Yeah, when I was coming here and I was like, I'm going to the mall, I was like, okay, I'm mentally putting aside $30 to spend on utter bullshit. It doesn't matter what I buy, but I'm going to the mall.
I'm going to the mall.
I'm going to the mall. Oh, security.
Yeah, as soon as I saw them, I was like, oh no, are we doing something wrong? We're sitting outside the mall. We're not even in the mall right now.
Yeah, so. We're not harassing anyone or asking for anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a police officer, there's several security guards.
First time I ever held hands with someone was in a mall.
Really?
Yeah.
What was her name?
I actually don't remember his name. I'm trying to think. I didn't really like him, but we did hold hands. And I felt awkward about it. Because I was like, oh God, everyone's going to see me and know.
Holy shit, they got a shotgun. Something's going on big time.
Do you want to follow them to the mall? I think we should.
Yeah, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
What is consumerism in the derogatory sense? The word consumerism contains a critique of human behavior and societal organization. It's not a neutral term. It's accusing. There's no one who's like, I'm a consumerist, and they're talking about I love getting my stuff replaced right away, and I think it's the best possible system.
Yeah. I don't know. When I typically hear it framed as sort of a social issue and not necessarily an implication of guilt on anyone who's going out and buying things, but that we've created a culture in which people feel driven to turn to buying things as a way to fill inner voids or to make themselves feel better, or in some vain quest for happiness through your next purchase, coupled with this idea of decreasing quality of goods, things being built to be disposable, ease of use, convenience, like these things get implicated as somehow unnecessary or harming the environment, overproduction. I realize I'm just throwing out words, but like this is the kind of landscape of consumerism.
No, I like hearing the words. I like you're painting a picture of all the related concepts.
Yeah.
Because when you were doing activist stuff for the Zeitgeist movement, consumerism talking points were really like part of your shtick, right? Like,
yeah, the idea is in Zeitgeist land, there wouldn't be this advertising like inculcating people or pushing people to constantly need to buy more and more and more. There's an idea of like your needs or your desires are being externally implanted by people who are just out to make money for themselves, large companies and stuff, attempt to use psychology to trick you into thinking you need things that you don't, or to trick you into thinking that buying this car is going to make you more attractive to women, or this beer is going to make you more attractive to women, or this makeup is going to make you more attractive to men, or like whatever the specific product being sold is.
Yeah, like in the public relations industry, their explicit job is to mislead consumers to make them feel that the unnecessary is necessary to them in some way. Like that's the job of an advertisement, is to convince you that you have a lack that can be fulfilled by a product or service. Like that's advertising 101.
Yeah, like we want people who would not have bought this otherwise to now buy it because of seeing our ad.
And we find what works is we remind them of something about themselves that bugs them or makes them feel that they're being left out of something unless they purchase our product or service. That tends to raise the numbers, so we tend to do that. It's not malicious. We just want to have as many people buy as possible, and what we find is that works.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, then it gets tied into waste and garbage and like pictures of landfills with stacks and stacks of old cell phones, because we're throwing out like one cell phone a year every year and a half, and all this material waste, this plastic, that giant plastic.
The Great Pacific Garbage Patch.
Yeah. This huge chunk of the oceans where all the plastic has accumulated into a toxic
big old pile of plastic.
Yeah. And just things like that, things that if they were designed smarter, this was the Zeitgeist idea, if we put our focus into designing things to A, last as long as possible, B, use the least damaging materials possible, C, be recyclable, D, be upgradable, so you don't even have to recycle, you can recycle parts. Like everything is about conserving the material resources in the most efficient way possible in order to get as much of the best stuff out to as many people as possible, rather than having a production of like 10 times as much really crappy stuff that less people get for less time and have to keep buying over and over again.
Utilizing shotguns and force. Hey, we're giving a thumbs up. We can return.
Let's see if the police will tell us anything.
Yeah. Hey, were you in the store? Yeah, what happened?
So apparently there was a report that 4 kids had guns in a pet store. So the police came and they pinned down 3 of them, and there was another girl inside. They searched them and found 1 toy gun, but I'm not sure if they had real guns or if they were all toy guns. And it was just
okay.
Just the one kid who had a toy gun on him, and then
We were just sitting outside and we're like, oh my God, he has a shotgun. They're going into the pet store.
Anytime there's like a shotgun being pointed into a pet store, it's a very bizarre situation.
Yeah, no, I totally wouldn't bring a gun into this pet store if I were.
No, absolutely not. That's just bad consumerism. Like, that's not what a good consumer would do.
Pooch-on. Oh my God. The puppies are so cute.
Oh, look at this.
You mean the
Look at this sleepy guy.
Oh, so cute.
You okay? Yeah, we're okay for now. Just checking out the puppies. It's a cool thing about the mall is everyone wants to help you.
Yeah, we'll help you buy their things. So
yeah, like you couldn't ask them to help you move or something.
So here's my address. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.
These puppies are really they're really touching the glass. They really want out.
Yeah, they are in very small areas. If I was a puppy, I would prefer to be in a bigger area.
Able to help you with anything?
Oh, not specifically.
Just
looking at the puppies.
Yeah.
Do you need permission to record in the store?
Not audio.
It's our company policy that if there's any reporting, we must have it informed by head office beforehand.
Okay. Well, we can leave. Yeah, we're not trying to record anything that you guys are doing or anything like that. So we can just leave. It's no problem. We only came here because of the commotion, honestly. That's what attracted us to the store in the first place.
Okay.
And we're just looking at these puppies.
Because they're cute.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to Confirmation Bias News Headlines. From Slate, buying coffee every day isn't why you're in debt. Debunking the personal finance advice industry's favorite myth. Studies demonstrate that the quickest way to land in bankruptcy court was not by buying the latest Apple computer or buying Starbucks coffee every day, but through medical expenses, job loss, foreclosure, and divorce. Giving up a latte or other such small extravagance in this environment isn't going to be enough. The problem was fixed costs, the things that are difficult to cut back on. Housing, healthcare, and education cost the average family 75% of their discretionary income in the 2000s. The comparable figure in 1973, 50%. Personal finance shills have made a career of telling people that their systemic problems are their own making.
From the Daily Mail, a new study is backing up long-held suspicions that Apple slows down older models of its iPhones to encourage users to buy a new release. The US study analyzed worldwide searches for iPhone slow and found that the search term spiked significantly around the time of a new iPhone launch. It then compared those results with similar searches for the term Samsung Galaxy slow and discovered that the term was unaffected by new releases from Samsung.
From the Globe and Mail, Canadian household debt soars to yet another record. Canadians ended 2015 with a record-high debt burden as low interest rates and still soaring regional housing markets fueled the fastest year of household debt growth since 2011. The Bank of Canada has long expressed concern about the elevated levels of household debt, which pose a potential risk to Canada's financial stability in the event of a sharp economic downturn that would strain consumers' capacity to meet their debt payments.
From ABC News, minimalists find happiness living with less. Americans love to buy stuff. We spend $380 billion a year on clothes, shoes, cars, gadgets, and odds and ends. But is buying all that stuff making you happy? Ryan Nicodemus and Joshua Milburn don't think so. I had all this stuff. I was living the American dream, laments Nicodemus. He packed everything in his apartment into boxes and only took things out as he needed them. I did this for 21 days, he said, and at the end of the experiment, I still had 80% of my stuff packed in those boxes sitting there, unaccessed. What he didn't need, he sold and gave away. If we could convey one message to everyone who comes to our events, said Nicodemus, we really want to leave this behind, to love people and to use things, because the opposite never works.
From LiveScience.com, the truth about shopaholics. New research reveals that buying behaviors can range from frivolous fun to serious addiction. The results of a telephone survey at Stanford University showed that an average of nearly 6% of the U.S. population fits on the compulsive buyer build. April Lane Benson, a psychologist in New York who treats compulsive buyers, said, "It's important to understand what you're really shopping for. What are the underlying authentic needs? Are you shopping because you're lonely? Are you shopping to celebrate? And finding other ways to meet those important needs."
From lifehack.org, how to avoid being enslaved by consumerism. The general solution to the consumerist abyss is building a stable inner world. Spirituality, relationships, philosophy, learning, and ethics are all facets of this bigger idea. A person with a solid inner world won't obsess over buying things or forsake objects she owns. Instead, she can view it as a person playing a game would look at tokens on a board. Seeing past the ownership illusion, she can put all her effort into experiencing the game.
From Russia Today, Vladimir Putin relinquishes all of his possessions, calling for everyone to love each other. Quote, "We have made a decision to create a new federal executive body, encouraging everyone to just give each other the benefit of the doubt a little more of the time." Peskov said that the National Guard will work together with Putin to relinquish his possessions, to protect public safety and order, and as well as everyone loving each other. Franz Klintsevich, first deputy chairman of the Federation Council Committee on Defense and Security, noted that what you own ends up owning you.
Did you buy anything today?
I got some Chinese food.
Is that consumerism? I don't think buying food is consumerism.
Yeah,
Or
I guess,
maybe like Oreos. That's kind of consumerism.
I feel like there's the element of consumerism of like going to restaurants a lot is a consumerist. I could have had food in my house or had a more standard breakfast.
I went to the dollar store today.
What'd you get?
On the way to the weed store, actually, but I went to the dollar store and I bought a red and white RCA to 3.5 millimeter jack cable, $1.25.
Oh, nice. Cha-ching. 125. What's that come to? 140 after tax? Nice.
Yeah, something like that. I got 2 cans of olives, sliced olives.
These millennials are so luxurious.
Sliced olives.
Sliced.
$1.25 each.
Oh, you're too dainty to slice your own olives now.
And I got 2 Betty Crocker brand plastic Tupperware containers. So that's kind of consumerist, I guess. I kind of will, like, I'll use all those things.
Oh, yesterday I went to the dollar store and bought some clipboards. I bought several clipboards.
I have a clipboard that I bought at a dollar store also. It's right here.
It's pretty useful, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have an empty envelope clipped to mine.
It's really useful, but I plan to use it for like activism purposes, assembling like street teams. It's not super consumerist.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm sorry. I just realized because I was thinking about why I bought this clipboard, and it was because when I was writing in all these notebooks that I bought at the dollar store that have really thin pages, that the like indentation and the bleeding through of the pages was bothering me. So I was like, oh, if I was writing on a clipboard, these really thin page notebooks I bought at the dollar store will work better. So I went to the dollar store to buy a clipboard.
Yeah, we should have sprung for the $25 business model clipboards.
No.
So that they would last longer instead of going to these substandard dollar store brands.
Designed to break.
Yeah.
I also bought a laser pointer at the dollar store the other day. I always go to that dollar store because they have really nice bread sometimes.
Wait, so but yeah.
They have like this like sprouted organic wheat quinoa bread. It's bread that if you go to Safeway costs $5 a loaf, and they have it at this dollar store like regularly for $1.25 a loaf. The one on Commercial Drive, check it out.
Today's episode of the Seriously Wrong podcast is brought to you by
The one on Commercial Drive, check it out.
So what's the deal with George Bush telling people to go spend money after 9/11? Does that have something to do with consumerism?
I guess you could say that's like a very great crystalline example of consumer culture of, hey, we've all just had this massive trauma. We know how to show those terrorists what for. Go shopping. I think that was the basic idea, right? Like,
yeah,
let's show the terrorists by shopping.
They hate our way of life. This is our way of life. Like when someone gets shot for drawing Mohammed and then there's a Mohammed drawing day. You take down the World Trade Center because you hate world trade. We're going to do more trade to fuck with you and to show you that it doesn't work.
Yeah, we're not
going to be like, oh, we're going to trade less.
We're going to buy things. We're going to go crazy.
We're going to put our peons into debt. We're so crazy trading.
We should name Black Friday a holiday in honor of terrorists. And in the vein of the Bush quote, just say, we do this in memory of those who lost their lives in 9/11. We do this to fight the terrorists. Let's punch each other in the face trying to get the like cheapest TV we can.
Yeah, in the name of opposition to political expansionist Islamism, I will punch someone in the face for a TV.
You know, I wouldn't normally do that. Wouldn't be my thing necessarily. But if it's going to help fight terrorism, I'm going to knock a fucker down.
I definitely don't support ISIS. And I will buy anything to prove that.
And I mean, loss of life, yeah, people get trampled, people die. That's the free market, baby. If they didn't want to risk their life, they didn't have to show up for cheap deals.
Today's episode of the Seriously Wrong podcast is brought to you by the free market, baby. Your baby drank some lead and some infant formula imported from China? The free market, baby. Did your computer break down right after it left warranty? The free market, baby. Is your employer forcing you to buy your work uniform? The free market, baby. Okay, so we're about to go into HMV to see if there's anything worth getting. Nickelback,
Titanic. Could download that for free at home.
Dexter the Third Season. That's easy to
Yeah,
get
Friends,
for free.
Mad Men, pretty much all these things could just download for free.
Pretty much. The Wedding Singer on Blu-ray, could download that for free like nothing.
Oh yeah, 1080p rip, that's available.
Black
Blondie.
Keys.
We could download Blondie for free from the internet.
Yeah, for free. That's on YouTube. You could just watch that on YouTube. Don't need to really
Yeah, you
pay
don't even
for
have to download. You can stream. Stream David Bowie.
Yeah, true. This is a sale section, so this is stuff.
That could be downloaded for free
Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs for $5.
before midnight.
Or for $0. You know, it says $8 there, but I know a place you can get it for $0.
Oh, hey, there's headphones over there. You couldn't get those for free on the internet.
No, it can't.
Not yet, anyway.
Someday. Yeah, I guess that's what they expanded into with their shirts and the pillows and stuff here, is they needed to get some stuff that's not available for free.
Yeah.
Minecraft swords in the physical realm, that is not available for free. Maps of Game of Thrones,
You could probably get that for free.
but you'd have to get it printed out.
Sure. But I mean, technically, we couldn't get all those DVDs for free on the internet. Like, we couldn't get the DVDs.
Yeah, no. Special features are harder to get.
Yeah. No, but I just mean the physical disc itself.
It's true. That's a nuanced perspective on the the for free argument that we've been participating in.
Yeah.
There's something so potent. I mean, it's fucked up because these people are just working their jobs, you know, like they're just, obviously these HMV people aren't like HMV maniacs.
Yeah, they probably all download things for free at home.
Yeah.
But they just know you don't talk about that.
Yeah, you don't talk
at
about
HMV.
that while you're at work at HMV.
Yeah, it's not cool.
And that's why I want to ask them, but that's also why it's not really fair to ask them on a human-to-human level.
Right.
Have you ever known anyone with a shopping addiction or like a hoarder? Have you ever known a hoarder?
Oh, not extreme hoarders. Well, like working in social housing like I do, I have encountered some like hoarders apartments. They're not like close friends of mine.
Right.
But
I was just laughing at the idea of labeling them as hoarders.
Yeah, and just like listing people that we know. Oh yeah, like Chris, he's a hoarder. And
yeah, totally. My cousin, terrible, disgusting house.
Oh, but I've got a little bit of a tendency to like hold on to things longer than I need to. If there's nothing pressing me to get rid of it, and I have got like the space to store it, stuff tends to kind of pile up.
I think that's true of everyone. That's not really hoarding.
Yeah, not an extreme.
I do
hoarding.
that too. You don't like save every issue of a newspaper and keep stacks and stacks in your apartment, or just I feel like it's got to be based on like the reality shows I've seen. It's got to be categorized by
like finding dead animals as you move stuff around.
Yeah, like I save all my old pizza boxes. You never know when I might need those. Not going to throw those out. Stacks and stacks of them. I feel like I know people and have people in my family who I might say aren't hoarders, but who definitely the epitome of buying things they don't need and knows they do it and just likes buying things, identifies as someone who likes shopping and likes buying things, enjoys the process of doing that, is constantly looking for people to just give these things to that they've bought that they
Oh yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. Not just in my family, but yeah, like even if they already have something, they'll like find reasons to buy extras of it, and then they've always got all these extra things around, so they like distribute them to the people near them, which is weird because it's like socially incentivized in a slight way. Like you're rewarded for over shopping, like you're rewarded for making these detrimental decisions in a way, because
because it ends up being a nice thing to do. I mean, I guess if you have enough money and you just give these things away, like that seems actually just like a nice thing, actually, when I think of it.
Yeah, as long as you have enough money.
Yeah, as long as you're not hurting yourself or others or like pushing things on people they don't want.
I had a friend who they were always buying these unnecessary things, and like they had a decent job, it was perfectly fine, they could afford it, at least for the most part. I'm sure like they had some amount of like
more strife than would have otherwise.
Yeah, like technically speaking, more money was spent, and so they had less flexibility.
Yeah.
But
did you talk to them? Did you get Dr. Phil in there? They come in, your friend comes in to their house, and you're just like a circle around, and you're like, all right.
I don't know, it wasn't so bad. Like I was like, hey, this is fucking up your life. But like it came up in a conversation of being like, you got like a lot of DVDs. Like your DVD collection's really impressive. Like, do you ever watch these? And just like, no, I don't. And it's like, well, there's like several new DVDs here on the counter in between us right now. Like you must have bought in the last couple days. And like, yeah, I did. Like, they were good deals. Like, they were on sale. And it's, like, I didn't take the whole tack of like, oh, your possessions end up owning you, and
Right.
don't you see how false your consciousness is over this or whatever?
Right.
But I was just like, why? Like, why spend all that money? Like, why not just buy less DVDs? That was my tactic for dealing that with a friend, is just asking the question of like, what does the world look like where you don't do this? Like, why is this world better?
I used to buy a lot of DVDs. I actually gave all my DVDs away when I was like doing I'm going to declutter, I'm going to get rid of possessions. And I got rid of a bunch of stuff that I don't miss most of it. I remember like having a bunch of things I was saving just cause like, oh, memories, and like throwing out some of them and keeping a smaller amount, and identifying with this idea of minimalism and wanting it to be easier when I moved and having less stuff. And I got rid of all my DVDs because I was like, oh, I can just pirate everything always forever. So I don't need DVDs.
There's almost an anti-human angle to the whole minimalism ideal if it's like too prescriptive of a thing. Like, in addition to the debt load that we put on them, the social pressure to spend money all the time, the high cost of living, so their very reasonable consumption patterns, because of their fixed costs, become this egregious overspending that makes them feel all guilty and bad. On top of that, we're going to be like, and you should feel bad because your closet's too full.
Right, because you have too many objects, you naughty boy or
naughty,
girl.
Bad human. Human shaming. It's just human shaming.
Yeah, no, totally. It's well, and also I don't want to like discount minimalism, because I think without human shaming, it's not a bad idea, and that I think getting rid of clutter is legitimately a way to make you feel better in your everyday life. Like having fewer things around, I think there's some truth to that. I don't know if it's like feng shui or whatever, but it feels freeing to get rid of stuff. The idea that each thing you have is a little albatross holding you down is kind of true. It's sort of physically true in a sense of like, you can't just like pack up and leave with a backpack if you have a whole bunch of furniture and stuff that you want to hold on to. You gotta get like storage space or this or that, but like there has to be a balance struck, because I think there's also like holding on to things for sentimental value is totally a valid thing and is cool to have, like, especially if you have things that have maybe been passed down for generations. Like material objects can be imbued with meaning, and it's not necessarily bad to have things you like and to keep them for no other reason than just to have them, even if you don't use them. Like in that story we talked about at the beginning, the minimalist who was like, I put everything I had into boxes, and if I didn't use it within 21 days, it went out. Like, it's a interesting romantic idea, but I like having my old yearbooks, even though I don't look at them very often. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to look at them when I'm older, so I want to keep it.
Yeah, with the subject of like inheritance and holding on to things for traditional values, that's a conflict that's happened in my family actually a little bit, because my mom and my sister are both really into like keeping all this old furniture they have around. Mm-hmm. And because I've got different priorities and values than them in that way, I'm always like, but like, you could get a smaller house. Like, you don't need to have a house big enough for all these things. Like, you could save so much space and room and have less things to clean. And like, this is a chair grandpa sat on, but like, it's cool to not have it, you know? Like, doesn't make, I get that grandpa sat on this chair and like, we love grandpa, but there's a is-ought thing about, yes, grandpa did sit on the chair, but that doesn't mean we ought to keep it forever.
Yeah. I favor keeping like small heirlooms more so than like, say, a big lazy boy or something like that. I don't know what the chair was. Maybe if it was a special chair. It's all depends on things. But then if you're just like, well, everything grandpa ever touched, we have to save it all.
Here's grandpa's hair.
I have a lot of it. He kept producing it right up to the end.
This conversation it got me thinking about, even in the conversations I had with my family now, I realize in retrospect, there was a little bit of a human shaming aspect of it, where I'm like, oh, you old-timey thinkers wanting to keep chairs because you miss grandpa. Bah to you.
Yeah, it's like a sentimental, is like shaming sentimentalism.
Yeah, and like there's a more pressing tension here, which is that people who want to keep things for sentimental value or want to keep things for the future in case they need it and stuff like that are being denied affordable and accessible storage space, Like having affordable and accessible storage space isn't an unreasonable demand. It's also like there's no theoretical limit to the amount of storage space that we can create.
Well, I mean, the surface area of the Earth times with like how high we can make buildings and like how much Earth we'd need to preserve. There is a theoretical limit.
I hear what you're saying. I guess the way that I meant that, the way that you were invited to hear my previous statement was that in relation to any amount of possessions that any of us could ever accumulate, or all of us collectively could accumulate, we will always be able to accommodate storage-wise for that for the foreseeable future.
Oh, man, speaking of families and sentimental items, when my friends and I were, I want to say 14, 15, 16, we had this camcorder and we were just making like silly videos all the time. And we found this doll. It's a Cabbage Patch Kids doll that my mom had that I didn't know. It just had always been like around the house. I didn't know it had any special meaning. Its name was Gideon Bobby. Just think it's funny that it had a name because the Cabbage Patch Kids all have individual names. And we like started making these videos where we were just like throwing Gideon Bobby around, or like it took all its clothes off, and like we're I believe even like drove over it with the van. Really silly shit. And we like broke it, and then my mom saw it that it was broken and got really sad because her mom had given it to her, and I was just like, oh, I didn't know that. I'm sorry. And I felt bad, but poor little Gideon Bobby.
We are all gathered here today to celebrate the life of Gideon Bobby. Gideon Bobby was a beautiful doll, a lovely Cabbage Patch doll, and it had its own name. Its name was Gideon Bobby. This doll had sentimental value that we didn't fully understand when we destroyed it to make a video that we just shared amongst ourselves. We didn't even take the video off the camera. We just rewatched it on the little screen on the camera. And all of the editing was done by the order in which we shot it.
Not true, actually.
That was my experience with making videos as a kid.
You didn't edit during the recording to a tape, to a VCR tape. We were a little next level, I guess, hey?
Yeah, it sounds like you were next level.
We also bought a Radio Shack little mini mixer thing for like $20 that let us add music to the background of our videos.
Huh.
Yeah, we had them all on VHS tape, and someone who I'm not going to name names lost them all, and so we don't have any of them. They never were put on the internet because the internet didn't exist, at least not for putting videos up when we were in 8th, 9th grade. But have you ever tried to minimize your material? You are pretty minimal anyway, aren't you? Like, you don't have a lot of material possessions.
Yeah, well, some of it's been intentional, and some of it's been stuff that I've just like managed to lose over the years, or that I would still have. Like, there's a lot of things I can remember having that either I very specifically regret getting rid of, like my Super Nintendo, or have no idea what happened to, but wish that I still had. But actually, just recently, this week, I was going through my storage. I've got a lot of books that I know that I'm never going to read, that I got from like roommates moving away and other situations like that, where I just got a bunch of books at once. And I've also got old DVDs and video games and stuff that I think I'll probably never use again. And I've been kind of thinking about what I want to do about it recently, if I want to like try to just give it away to people who want it.
Yeah, no, totally. That's what I did. Boxed up all those CDs and DVDs and just, I think, gave them to some donation box thing for some organization. I don't know, Salvation Army or some shit.
Yeah, maybe what I'll do is I'll try to make a friend out of it. In the downtown east side, there's like a marketplace that happens like every weekend. I'm not sure. I haven't seen it in a while. Like, it happens unofficially all the time, where people are vending in the street. That's what they call it. But they also have like a marketplace once a week where everyone can sell it. Maybe I'll go there and like find someone who has one thing that I want and like make a friendship with them by just giving them a bunch of shit they can sell.
Right.
And then every time I see them, they'll be like, hey, I mean, hopefully that would be the dream, right? Is to make a new social connection out of my generosity instead of make 0 new social connections.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's always good to have more people who have your back.
Did you ever hang out at the mall? in your life? Was that ever a thing you did? Like with your friends?
Kind
hang out
of.
at the mall?
When I was like 12 or 13, there's this mall called St. Vital Mall in Winnipeg that we would go see movies at sometimes and like hang out at the arcade or whatever, or look at the video games.
Yeah. I did a little bit too. Yeah, there was just one mall in Medicine Hat Mall. And at Medicine Hat Mall, I would go sometimes, go to the food court, see a movie.
It's a great place to hang with your friends.
Oh, fuck. I have the jingle for Medicine Hat Mall stuck in my head. It's just, what were the first words? I don't remember. It's without the beginning, it's lame. It just ends with Medicine Hat Mall.
Let's play the reality tunnel game. I am a Marxist, and I think what causes environmental devastation and overconsumption is capitalism.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. As a person who believes in true free markets, the system we call capitalism is incentivizing these kinds of destructive consumerist behaviors. But we as individuals acting in this world, acting in market, as unfree as it is, have the responsibility to make better choices, because if we all come together and do our parts, the market will respond to our individual desires.
That's definitely true. While none of us are totally responsible for everything that happens to us, there is actions that we can take that will make our life better or worse, and that we can optimize over time if we are collaborative and talk with other people about our shared struggles. I'm a male feminist, and I think that overconsumption is caused by patriarchy. It's men who control the advertising firms. Capital relations largely benefit men. Personal ownership is the masculine, and communal ownership is the feminine, and I think that we should move to a more feminine society.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't agree more. Women have been denied their civil liberties in our society for most of its history. Their voices are sorely lacking in many of the institutional structures that are still at work behind all this. As a centrist liberal, I'd like to see the increase in everyone's civil liberties, including individuals in their role as consumers, and an increase in consumer rights advocates, and an increase in watchdog organizations that can help rein in some of the worst aspects of unchecked corporate power.
I couldn't agree more. The shareholders and boards of directors for these major corporations, they've got no external liability to whatever devastation they spread on the world. They might have to pay damages, but if it's less expensive to do shady practices and then just pay a fine for it later because you're going to make so much money off of your shady practices, there's no proper incentive not to do it. And we're talking about regulatory capture. We're talking about industries that have taken control of aspects of government that are meant to be watchdogs on them to give themselves a pass and tilt the market in their favor, using regulations to benefit them at the behest of consumers. Corporate greed is the worst.
As a traditionalist conservative, I couldn't agree more. Corporate greed is just one of those areas where a strong Republican government needs to step in and curb the excesses of human greed, which leads right into what is actually the core of this issue. What is really the problem with, consumerism is a problem of values and a lack of putting value in the places that actually matter, like the family, like traditional values, spending time with those you care about, and not on acquiring more and more stuff just for the sake of it.
As an anarcho-syndicalist, I totally agree 100% with what you're saying and where you're coming from. People need to start valuing their social and human connections over their material goods. The examples of leaders in our society are so decadent and corrupt. We absolutely have a values crisis in this country, and we should protect those who are closest to us within the anarcho-syndicalist framework, democratic control of the workplace and economic relations. I think the real heart of this problem, where all of this environmental destruction and overconsumption and trying to make people feel that the only way they can make things better is by buying more and spending more. This all comes from inequality and power distance in society between bosses and workers, between celebrities and citizens, between the rich and the poor. The only way to cut the cancer of consumerism from our society is to guarantee basic survivable outcomes for all human beings and dignity. We need to confront inequality if we want to confront consumerism.
Yeah, as a Marxist, I completely, totally, 100% on board with confronting inequality. And as we all know, the greatest purveyor of inequality is capitalism. So that's the root of the problem of consumerism.
I disagree. That's wrong. You're completely out of line. That's just the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. That's so dumb.
No, you are 100% wrong. Of course the problem
what are you
is
talking
capitalism.
about?
Yeah,
That's
it is.
stupid.
Yeah, no, it is. It
It's
is.
not.
I know
That's
it is.
dumb.
I know
That's-
it is.
It's totally different. It's
I've
different
seen it.
entirely.
Have you studied history? The study
So
of
are
history
you-
will reveal to you that
I'm just
I am
giving you some
correct.
feedback. Like, you don't need to be so defensive.
Well, you don't need to be so incorrect about everything you say all the time.
Okay, well, you're wrong on that.
No, I'm actually right about that. I'm always
That's
right
not true.
about...
That's okay. Well,
Well,
you've been wrong
I'm not
before.
always right.
Hey, what
But
about?
I'm always right against you
That's not true.
because
And
you
that's not fair.
are
Because-
incompetent.
The reality tunnel game.
Free pants. Oh my god. Oh no, with the purchase of a matching jacket.
That's how they get you. Those jackets aren't free.
I don't know why, something about the idea of free pants. I
really
just
blew your mind,
Yeah, I
dude.
was like, whoa.
Your stoic persona was broken for a minute at the premise of free pants.
Free pants. Oh,
That's how
God.
they get you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mall's a place where people come together, you know?
They can get their nails done. I see right there, Profession nail. They can sit around the fountain, drink their frappuccinos.
Yeah, drink their consumption, their frappuccinos.
Yeah, there's Starbucks. Never buy Starbucks.
Can I get a grande mocha frappuccino? Yeah. Is it true that the Starbucks upstairs is worse than this one?
What do you mean? Is it a better Starbucks?
Better Starbucks down here?
The best one, okay?
Okay. Because they were talking shit about you guys up there.
Can I get anything or just...
No, I'm okay. I'm just waiting with him.
Okay, can I get your name for the mocha frappuccino?
Sean.
S-E-N or...
S-H-O-N.
I feel like I really frequently see older people in public, say maybe 55 up, talking about the prices of things. Anytime I'm overhearing conversations between two people who are 55 and up, the most common thing I'll hear them talking about is either how the price of something went up or how they got a good deal.
I think when you get that age, like things start to, like it starts to blow your mind how expensive things can be, because it already kind of happens to me sometimes on various things. I don't know. I remember when I was a kid going to the movies and, you know, my grandpa telling me shit about how he used to pay 10 cents, like a dime, to go to a movie, and like, oh my God, like we're paying $4, I think, or no, I think it was like $2.75 for us at that age to go there and watch like the afternoon matinee. And he's just like freaking the fuck out. But like now it's like $15-$18 sometimes to go see a movie. Mm-hmm. And by the time I'm 60 and it costs like $100 to go see a movie, if this like continues, or actually I guess if it used to be 10 cents and if mine used to be about $10, let's say, to go up to $3 from that is to be like $300. So if it costs like $300 to go see a movie, like I think I'm gonna also just be like dumbstruck by that.
Yeah, that's a good contextualization for why that's an older phenomenon, or it would seem that way. Yeah, maybe another aspect is just that, you know, living in a society that's fixated around prices and built around very much like structured consciously around prices and market mechanisms. Living in that world for more than 40 years is going to have effects on what your priorities are, like even unconsciously.
Yeah, and it's not a bad idea to try and get good deals on things and pay attention to prices, and maybe they just, you know, they know the value of $1. They're not so young and naive.
Yeah, they figured out like this is actually the primary organizing force of my universe is how the money I'm spending and where money comes in and where money goes out.
Yeah, I've had periods in my life where I've been more and less paying attention to how much money I'm making versus how much money I'm spending. Like sometimes I'm just winging it and like hope it works out, you know? And like I'm just not going to worry about that. Whereas I've had periods in the past where I was a lot more meticulous and planned.
Yeah, I think if I've got any general tendency, it's overspending, not paying enough attention to my finances. Like I know people who have gotten into like really, really huge debt and then filed for bankruptcy and stuff. And I've never went to that level, but I've pretty consistently had some level of credit card debt since I ever had a credit card. Like something feels so good about like buying something.
Yeah,
like
especially like once you've paid off your credit card, you're just like, oh, I have like all this ability now.
Yeah.
I have the ability to buy a computer. Like that computer there, when I bought it, was like $3,500, and it was like one of the most expensive things I'd ever bought. But I just like got this new $8,000 credit card from CIBC, and I was like, I can build a really awesome computer and buy it, and I did. And it was a good investment because it's like 6 years old and it's still like awesome. I've barely upgraded it and it runs everything really well.
Cool.
Sorry, tangent. But yes, A, it's really appealing to buy shit when you have that credit. But B, it's a good idea to buy expensive things that don't break. It actually ends up being a better deal in the long term. And it's a tax on poor people who have to keep buying shit over and over.
But I definitely buy things for comfort sometimes, or like buy things on a whim that aren't a good investment, or
yeah.
just random $20 or $40 expenses because I just happen to like visit a store or something. I'm not saying like I have a shopping addiction or anything near it, but like I understand the appeal of that, like the comfort in gaining access and the right to an item, a commodity, a good or a service.
I've definitely had the experience of buying things and feeling like really excited about it, but then it like that shine wears off. It like that aspect of an addiction, of the build up to something, and then the high of getting it, of taking the drug, or of making the purchase, like getting the new phone or whatever the thing is. And then, you know, it kind of wears off and you need a new hit. Like I've had this phone for over a year and a half, and I'm just like, it still works, sometimes a little slow. I would really like a new phone just because it would be fun and awesome and dope for a few weeks until I just am inured to it, and it's just the same.
Yeah, that was a super consumerist decision that I made, is when my phone contract ended, I opted in to, for no good reason, pay them extra money forever instead of keeping my better deal.
To get a new phone?
Yeah. Instead of just either buying it outright and then paying it back to the credit company instead of back to the phone company, which would have been a smarter investment, or just keeping my old phone, which worked perfectly fine and would still be working perfectly fine to this day, several years later. Mm-hmm. At the cost of like extreme long-term savings for how much better my contract was before and how I would have had a right to keep it. But agreeing to a new contract was like so dumb. Because at the time it felt more free, but it was actually just like not free at all. It was actually like a lifeblood contract forever to always pay them more money for the rest of my life.
Yeah, it's the golden apple held out in front of you and you can just take it right now and you get the phone.
Yeah.
But
and it's like, oh, it's bigger. It's
and I'll get
thinner,
it right now. And
lighter.
all I have to do is pay an extra $30 every month, and like $30 right now extra, like on top of what I was going to pay anyway right now for this month, it feels like nothing. And I get this new phone. But like, how long you in for? 2 years?
Yeah, I think it's actually about to end. So I'll probably get a sweet new phone soon.
We're doing a podcast about the consumption of goods in society.
Don't you mean the overconsumption of goods?
Yeah, well, I don't know, because there's some things are overconsumed. How do you feel about the idea of ethical consumption? Is that possible? Does that exist?
Everyone's so greedy in our society that I don't think people know how to have that give and take and only take what they need. You know, people always want more.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like the mall embodies that in any sense? Like,
are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Look around. Like, how many people have a ridiculous amount of bags, or the bags they have are really tiny, but you know they spent hundreds upon hundreds of dollars. Everyone's all about name brands, all about, I don't know, the image that the media portrays, and it may seem like there's a lot of stores here, but they're all owned by Fortune 300 companies.
Yeah. And I find I am aware of all this stuff. I'm like, okay, factory farm meat's bad, blood diamonds are bad. Something about going to the mall just shuts off that part of my brain.
It's true. It's for the experience of it, but what are you experiencing?
I don't know.
You're not really making memories here.
No.
It's just spending money, doing what we're kind of expected to do.
So do you think we need to have like a revolution against capitalism, or do we need...
Oh, you found the right girl. Okay, so I act and model. I know I don't look like much right now, and people on the podcast can't see, but I want to start my own nonprofit organization. I want to start a charity, and that's why I'm acting and modeling, because I'm going to get a modeling and talent agency, and then my talent is going to volunteer with my nonprofit, and then I'm going to change the world, because society's views are going to change on what's right and wrong.
So you're gonna mix acting and modeling as an industry and say, if you want to be an actor and a model with my organization, then part of your job is also helping us with charity.
Yeah.
Because our values are updated.
Exactly.
Do you think after the revolution there would still be malls?
You know what? It depends on how it happens. Because I think no matter what, if you try to revolt, it doesn't matter how big your numbers are. Get as many weapons as you can. You can't do it in a violent or negative way, and that's what a lot of people are saying.
So yeah, mixing these moral revolutionary aspects into monetary paradigms is a better way to make progress than grabbing guns.
Yeah, you can't butt heads with this. And that's what a lot of people are doing. Oh, I'm training. Oh, I'm doing this. We can't fight against the military, and that's the first thing the government would use against us.
Yeah, absolutely. So this stuff, your interest in politics in the world, does that come from the internet? Like studying on the internet, or?
No.
Where does it come from? Like, where did you learn?
Opening my eyes. A lot of people don't know how to do that, which is sad.
Yeah.
They just kind of like conform, work the 9 to 5. I feel like so many people are trapped in their jobs, in their lives, in their bodies, from what they eat, what they believe from the media, what they just engulf their life in, and I can't do that.
Mm-hmm. But you still consume. We're all still part of the society.
We are all consumeristic, and we can't really help that, but one day it might change. I tried sparking up a conversation in Victoria's Secret, and it didn't work out too well. They looked at me like I was a pervert, and I'm like, what?
That's the way they act when I go in Victoria's Secret too.
Yeah, that's because you're groping the mannequins.
Yeah, that's true.
For those in the podcast that didn't just see, there are security guards circling around us, making sure we conduct this interview and finish it up pretty soon.
He asked me what we were doing. I said we were recording a podcast, just walking around the mall talking to each other. And he was like, you're just talking to each other? And he's looking over at you too. And I was like, well, yeah, she stopped us and asked what we were doing. And so started talking to her. And he's like, okay, well, you can't approach people in the mall and ask for interviews. But even this, you're talking to her, it looks like you approached her. So I guess that's bad.
See?
Police state,
you're
right?
not even allowed freedom of speech. It's bullshit.
He said we could talk to people outside. We'd have to bring them
I know,
outside.
but that doesn't make us any sense. This is a social gathering, and they don't want us to be social. Do you see any advertisements here about charities or what's really going on in the world or anything like that? No, if you go around asking people questions, they might not be so happy and might spend their money elsewhere in a positive way. That'd be horrible, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine anything worse.
Yeah, because you can't buy those things at a mall anyway. There's no charity. The mall doesn't get a cut of
There's
charity.
no happiness here.
Today's episode of the Seriously Wrong podcast is brought to you by Buying Away the Pain.
Does it hurt inside? Does sometimes it just feel a little hollow?
Yes, and yes.
Well, I've got the solution for you.
You've got a solution?
Go to your local mall and buy away the pain.
Oh, well, but I don't have any money. I've just got a credit card.
It's a good idea to buy things on your card and then pay them off later because that'll build up your credit and then you can get more credit cards.
Wait, so if I borrow money now, they'll let me borrow money later?
They'll let you borrow more money later.
So I could have even bigger debt then?
And get even more things. How big's your TV right now?
Oh, I'm too embarrassed to say.
Well, no matter what size it is, could be bigger.
Standard definition. Standard definition.
Standard. Wow.
Yeah, apparently sometimes in politics, the consumer protection is referred to as consumerism also. Consumerism has two definitions, one of which is like the undue fixation on the
accumulation.
Yeah, of objects and buying products and services constantly. And the other is standing up for consumers' rights against big corporations and injustice and so on. Which seem to be pretty contradictory. And especially if you're mixing in the more zeitgeist concept of it, which includes, what's it called?
Planned obsolescence.
Planned obsolescence.
Yeah, it gets called a conspiracy theory, or at least there's a lot of conspiracy theory surrounding this idea and like implying that everyone is participating in it to levels that probably aren't true. But there's also a lot of documented history to it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense that would happen. Like maybe it's just because of being interested in conspiracy theories when I was younger, but I've still got this strong drive to be like, that word is so unnecessarily stigmatizing a type of speculation that's really essential to like a healthy society that has a lot of secrecy in it.
Right.
Like obviously you shouldn't automatically believe that there are lizards running the world, but our rich maybe who
you should automatically believe that.
Maybe
you can't say
should.
for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to automatically believe that you should or should not automatically believe something.
I don't know if we should automatically believe that either, though.
No, I choose to automatically believe, or I don't because it was automatic, but I do.
Which thing?
In what I was saying before.
Right. Oh, okay. Good. Perfectly clear. So, yeah, I don't know. But I'm saying is I've been buying 18-inch floor fans for about 4 years now. Use them as at night for sound and also in my living room when it's hot out to blow air in. And 3 times in a row, I bought the same kind, and they all had a year warranty, and they all broke right around the year mark. So I don't know. Maybe that is just a coincidence, but maybe not.
From the perspective of a corporation that is going to be making more money on manufacturing and selling than like repair and upkeep, it's probably a lot simpler to just have a full-time manufacturing operation that's manufacturing lower quality products than it is to have a manufacturing operation manufacturing high quality products and then also at the same time running an operation that's about like the maintenance and repair and continued use of those already sold products. It's a more complex structure to build. So like within the logic of the current marketplace, it's totally understandable why that would happen and be strategized about and implemented. Like I understand why iPhone would slow down their old phones because they have the power to, and it will get them the results they want. Why would they show benevolence there? Like if there's a bunch of money to be made and their job is to make money.
So, I wanted to get back to what you were saying about consumerism, also meaning to advocate for consumer rights. It's like a consumerism, like an ideology of being in favor of the rights of consumers.
It's a great idea.
It is a great
communism.
Idea. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we have to think of a different name for consumer. Like we already have consumer rights advocate. I feel like that's a phraseology people use. Mm-hmm. I think it's better because this one kind of lost. Like it lost the battle. Not that one word can't mean two things, but I don't know. I don't think this is a good share. But it does kind of overlap in this way, in that the strongest versions of anti-consumerism I hear would say that we don't need rights for consumers. We need to eliminate the social role of the consumer. Like we just provide for people their needs.
Yeah, there's like an overlap between people who want to more fundamentally address what's going on in society that are willing to work within the framework narrowly of protecting consumers from egregious violations because it's the most kind of like actionable thing to do. Like there's an overlap between people who want to abolish the role of the consumer and those who would want to protect consumers as they currently exist in this role because that's the way it already is.
I like that. What I was saying,
That's
though.
not what you're saying.
No, I was saying that maybe the reason they're both called consumerism is because consumer rights advocates actually play into pejorative consumerism by playing within the game rules rather than trying to break down the system. By doing what they're doing, playing their role as pushing for consumer rights, they're making the consumerist situation tolerable, perpetuating it. And so in their part of playing a role in consumerism themselves, these consumerists, consumer rights advocates.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know the exact quote, but there's something Adorno said that was, the glorious underdog within the system that you cheer for is still like a manifestation or a part of the system. That
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's the exact idea.
I think that's an okay line of like analysis and thought, but I think as far as how analysis can be applied to action, I think it would be too limiting to take that as like fully true, that any time that you're participating as an underdog within a system, you're perpetuating that system. I don't think that's necessarily the case. Like, obviously, having run for office and tried to organize electoral stuff before, I think being an underdog within certain contexts, in certain systems, with the explicit goal of changing the game, like participating within a game to change the rules of that game, is a different scenario than just being the underdog. I don't think that consumer relations getting better will stop calls for reevaluating them.
Yeah.
I think if anything,
totally.
the opposite is true. Like, when people see progress, they get thirsty for more progress, which is why establishment powers are like very theoretically would really want to repress people being aware of the fact that if 60% of the population agrees on something and 1/3 of the people who agree on something take direct action in some nonviolent form, that whatever their demand is will be met. They don't want people to realize that. It's that simple. It's the easiest thing in the world.
It's the easiest thing in the world if we get that 1/3, but getting that 1/3 isn't the easiest thing in the world.
As long as people know the rules of the game, then they can start participating in it, you know?
The other reason that I'm not against advocating for consumer rights necessarily is that I've kind of, in the past, and I've now kind of come back to my previous position, or at least to a more middle ground position, but I had a sort of pendulum swing away from the whole consumerism is bad narrative and looking at it more from the perspective of, no, that whole idea is just about pleasure shaming. It's just about telling people they're wrong for liking nice stuff. It's actually not wrong to like nice stuff. Nice stuff is awesome. New phones are cool. There's nothing wrong with wanting a new phone. They go faster and have new like little gadgets and things like that. Those pleasures and hating on people for having pleasures is this sort of like schadenfreude motivation is present within the people talking about, oh, the poor environment. Oh, not that these are, I'm just being silly. Not that these aren't legitimate problems, but the kind of dark side of the anti-consumerist ideology is pleasure shaming, this hating people for enjoying things.
Yeah, and I know that you're talking about kind of swinging away from this, but there's a lot of validity to that. Like, I was going to bring up the subject of convenience and people blaming like, oh, this convenient culture, it's so bad.
Right.
I claim the opposite. The convenience is good. If we can keep convenience, that's ideal. Getting mad, it's similarly pleasure shaming. Like, you're going to shame someone for wanting to
use a K-cup instead of, getting out the paper filter, putting it in your coffee machine. It's like way worse for the environment, but way more convenient. But I mean, really all they got to do is make biodegradable cups, which is totally possible.
Yeah, or people wanting to go to restaurants and have meals with their friends in like a social situation and to meet in a neutral third-party space than like someone's actual house. It's not an obscene thought. It's not like wanting to do that even regularly is not a sign of entitlement or necessarily a condemnation of that person's lack of homemaking abilities. That convenience is a good thing. It gives people more leisure time. Leisure time is an inherent good, and we don't get enough leisure time currently. So people cut corners with cooking using restaurants and other things like that to gain more leisure time, which is a good thing. It's good when people have more leisure.
Yeah, definitely. In the similar line of thought is the idea that talking about advertising as if it's this, just convincing people to buy things they don't need. And like, it's kind of patronizing and saying like, oh, you don't even really know what you want. You've just been tricked. You've been duped by these commercials. When all of us see like hundreds and hundreds of commercials all the time for things that we don't want, and the commercials don't convince us that we want it. Like I know I do all the time. Like the commercials that affect me are for things that interest me or things I might like to do. And I don't know how much of my love of buying new phones is externally imposed, but I think a lot of it is not externally imposed. It's internally generated from my own preferences. And I think that a lot of the anti-consumerist narrative kind of discounts that. It discounts people's subjectivity and turns them into objects being acted upon by advertising and like these furious little like grabby, pejorative Buddhist grasping beings that are just looking for something to hold on to, a thumb to suck on, a material object thumb to suck on, a blankie.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I agree that, but I feel like you've seen the Fnords, you know, like.
What? Sorry, maybe I think
you've seen the Fnords.
Yeah, I heard what you said. I just didn't know what you were talking about.
No, you've seen the Fnords. Okay, so in the Illuminatus trilogy.
Illuminatus trilogy is by Robert Anton Wilson, correct?
Yeah, and Robert Shee. In the book, school kids are taught to not be able to see the word Fnord, and they also built up like an association between the word Fnord and a feeling of like uneasiness and confusion. And the ruling class in this book puts the word Fnord in news media and movies and everything except for advertising, which has no Fnords.
So people can't see it or hear it. They don't know it's there. It's just affecting them on a subconscious level.
Yeah, they use it to keep everyone in society in like a state of fear and uneasiness so they can be controlled. So to see the Fnords means to be unaffected by the hypnotic power of the word, or unaffected generally by advertising culture or fighting words and things like that.
Yeah, I think it's true to some degree, but I also think the degree to which it is hypnotic is sometimes overstated. And sometimes tied to this idea of like, oh, everyone but me is stupid. All the dumb, unwashed masses just see the Coke advertisement and can't help their little piggy selves to run out there and guzzle Coke.
We are all dumb, Aaron. We're all philosophical zombies.
Except us. We've seen the Fnords.
Well, you're the only conscious being in this universe. We're all philosophical zombies. So what is the deal with our society's preoccupation with the acquisition of consumer goods? Am I right? Am I right? What's going on there? You know, I'm addicted to shopping. I'm fully addicted. I can't stop myself, you know. I max out all my credit cards. I'm in huge debt. It's a secret I keep from my family. Looking at my debt and thinking about how irresponsible I've been is causing me massive depression and anxiety. And the only way I can escape from it is, you guessed it, more shopping. So, yeah, it's bad. Oh, such a consumer. I gotta stop. So who else knows what I'm talking about? You? Consumer? We're all consumers here tonight? I will spend through natural capital as if it's a paycheck. I don't even care. I buy a new phone, and I'm not joking, every 5 seconds. While I've been doing this routine, I'm on Amazon on my phone. I'm shopping right now. I just bought a new clock for my living room. It was a great deal. Thank you all. This has been really fun hanging out with you guys tonight. I just wanted to say before I go, because our current society is structured in a way where the production of art is not considered a high-value commodity, I'm not being paid for tonight, but there is a tip jar by the door if you pity me and those like me. Thank you.
How often do you go to the mall?
Not very often. Only when I have to.
How do you feel about the mall, like, as a whole?
Not a huge fan. I prefer, those little personal shops
Yeah.
along the side of the street.
Do you support the end of global capitalism and the destruction of this mall?
No, I don't. Do you?
I'm agnostic. It could go either way on it. Do you think if there was a revolution and we lived in a society that was more economically equal, there would still be malls?
I think you're a big dreamer.
Guilty.
Yeah, you're like freaking Karl Marx or something.
So if there's not going to be a revolution, do you still think there's problems that need to be fixed?
I'm sorry to disappoint you. It's not going to happen.
Never
No.
any type of revolution?
No.
Like, not even like the
Do you want to end up like Cuba?
the industrial revolution was a revolution.
I think I'd rather not. No.
Do you have anything? I don't know. I appreciate your answers. It's awesome.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
There's this alleged hypocrisy in like anti-consumerist consumption. Like, you hate buying so much, why are you buying? Or you're talking about how you don't like capitalism on your smartphone, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And I bring this up to say that they have a point. I'm not just bringing it up to say like, no, this is this bullshit outside idea. What I'm saying is that anti-consumerists, anti-capitalists, and so on need a better platform of decommodification. We need a better description of what it looks like to remove aspects of human life from the wage relations, price system, and so on. Like, we know what it looks like to commodify something, selling drinking water, selling air, or whatever, like those extremes. What does it look like to decommodify something? You could like have a food forest, a collaborative food forest, where like gardeners of this food forest are paid a wage by the government, and it's actually illegal for anyone to buy or sell any food there. It can only be shared. A decommodified zone, a decommodified farm is a non-hypocritical premise that could be created within existing legal frameworks. Like, I don't think that we should shit on people for buying things while also having ideas of a better society. But I think we need to hammer out what this other society really looks like, or how to create these pockets of legitimately inverting the consumerist paradigm, rather than just saying like, oh, here's something sustainable for you to endlessly consume or buy a new one every 5 months or whatever. There could be a deeper thing to do than that. And I think there's a validity to that premise.
Like what? Like that one article at the beginning, like changing your internal relation to things. Is that what you mean by deeper? Or that's what I hear when I hear you say that, is like learning to not have that grasping self, not to be that wanting hungry ghost or whatever, just looking for something to fill your ever empty belly. Like, it's something that everyone has or embodies at various points in their life, and different people have different skill levels at noticing and overcoming or not engaging with it, but it's part of the human experience. And I think like the deeper fix to consumerism, at least to me, is dealing with that and in creating a society and a culture where people are taught how to deal with that, and where those issues come up less often because the opposite of that isn't promoted in the first place.
I agree with what you're saying, but it wasn't what I was saying. I guess, in a sense it is that, because I'm talking not just about within the self, but also within social relations. How can you and I, or you and I and a third person, or 4 of us or 5 of us share something that we only need for part of the time? Like, how do you build trusting social relationships around the non-ownership of objects? Building networks like tool libraries and stuff like that, where sharing access instead of private ownership and consumption and all the waste that comes with that. So yeah, in a sense what you're saying, but also organized to a higher level of complexity, organized between not just a conscious transformation within ourselves, but a consciousness transformation within groups of us that change the way that we interact with each other.
Yeah, totally. The cultural side is just as important. If you as an individual change yourself, that's good, that's great, but it doesn't necessarily ripple out very far from that. But if we can make those larger changes in larger groups of people, that's the culture shift. That's the real fix.
And I think the logic that will come through, and it's partially facilitated by technology, but it has deeper roots in human relations. It's the kind of open source, peer-to-peer ethic, the concept of creating shared value and having a collaborative nature to consumption. If hypothetically there was restaurants that were not run for profit and were looking to have ethical standards in food sourcing, you could get food there for cheaper than if you made it by yourself because of the economy of scale. If you're making more food at once, it's cheaper per portion. Not to mention the time that it saves from everyone doing that versus having one chef cook for a lot of people. There's actual tangible I'm hesitant to just call them economic benefits because they're also social benefits about resource allocation and the use of humans' time and the use of human effort and resources. That added value that's created by mass movement and collaboration, I think, is where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, where something extra is created by everyone putting in a little, the final pot is somehow bigger than everyone just having the little bit on their own. That's the emancipatory, liberatory, anti-consumerist paradigm.
Yeah, totally. I think the distinction, or the thing that brings what I see as a positive anti-consumerist culture in distinction to the criticisms I was making of anti-consumerism, is having a positive view of stuff in general. Because I don't think stuff is the problem, and I don't think we should pejoratively think about stuff as being bad and, oh, it's bad to have stuff. Necessarily. It might be better to have access to stuff in a different way that's more efficient and is more beneficial to everyone and to you, tool libraries and sharing economies and things like that. But it's not a user's fault for wanting to have a toy. Like, I just use the idea of a toy because it's frivolous or whatever by nature. Like, oh, they buy toys. These are their toys. Whatever your particular brand of toys are, new clothing accessories or gadgets or whatever the thing is you like. But the reason we want to build these systems of sharing things is because those things can all be good. Self-expression through how you dress, and dressing in unique, interesting ways, is good. Having fun gadgets to play with and new innovations in technology are good. All these things are good. The bad thing is in the way it's being done, in the way it's being distributed, and in the way it's being promoted and sold to people, and the culture created around it. So there's a distinction that needs to be more sharply drawn, I think, than it sometimes is. And there's a kind of lazy version of anti-consumerism that is just against stuff and people shaming and pleasure shaming. And I think that a positive anti-consumerist culture can incorporate that analysis with some ease.
These are essential problems to confront, and it's important that we take the right strategy, and that's to avoid being the shusher trying to stop people from having fun, calling people lazy, or like attacking people for wanting convenience, or wanting doodads, or wanting to have fun experiences, wanting to go traveling. And to most people who are ever going to help the anti-consumerist movement succeed, anti-consumerism is not their real dad. Anti-consumerism is their stepdad, and we need to be a cool stepdad. We can't be a lame stepdad who's always making them empty the dishwasher. The only time they interact with them is when he's telling them to pick up some dog shit in the backyard. We got to be like, yeah, what's up? I get it. I'm fucking your mom, but like, I'm cool, right? Like, you like hanging around with me. Not like, oh, you're on the computer too long. We don't want that. We can't be that stepdad. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Definitely.
Yeah, so the idea that all these people at the mall don't know what they're doing or don't know what they're participating in, we got evidence to the contrary. There's mall participants who know very well, at least emotionally, the direction that the mall represents,
Yeah, I don't think like everyone here is a sheep. Zombie awareness of the political realities of what they're doing.
There's definitely a lot of cognitive dissonance going on, though.
I bet there's a lot of homespun wisdom too, though, like people who maybe aren't that politically aware about it, but who just kind of get on an intuitive level that malls are festering.
This dental clinic has a sign that says we cater to cowards.
Sedation. Sedation.
Laser dentistry, sedation, and implants, except they no longer do implants or laser dentistry.
Yeah, just sedation.
How ridiculous. Everyone at this mall is already sedated by consumption. Bye, little sheep. Bye. Ooh, I need to buy more. Bye.
The chickens laying your eggs.
Keep laying your eggs. Bye.
Well, we're leaving the mall.
We're leaving the mall, just heading to the ticket machine here.
Yeah, you can buy a ticket, get on the SkyTrain. We laughed a lot, we cried a lot, saw some guns, saw some dogs.
Yeah, that's true.
Nice young woman. Couple nice young women.
Yeah, we met some nice people, talked to some security guards and customer service representatives.
Started a feud between the Starbucks sure to live on.
So, SkyTrains and buses are a lot like mall-to-mall transportation.
Sure, yeah. I mean, if we take this all the way to Granville, we could get it off at the Pacific Center, go to the mall.
There's another mall.
Yeah.
So if you thought that today's episode was interesting or you thought it wasn't interesting, if you hate what we're doing or love what we're doing, agree with us or disagree with us, use the contact form on the website and let us know what you think. We want to do more live episodes in the future, try going to different places, and if you have ideas for what might be interesting in that front, we'd love to hear them as usual.
If you enjoy the show, go to iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, leave a comment, leave a message, leave a high ranking, low ranking, whatever. We appreciate it. We appreciate your interest.
And our podcast, it's nothing like the stores at the mall. You get to consume for absolutely free, although we do now have a tip jar. The same place that you can send us emails, you can actually donate via PayPal if you so choose to fund adventures like this to the mall for us.
You can pay for our Starbucks, our so far only donator who sent us $52 American.
He's an amazing man. He's very buff.
Yeah. Yeah, great looking guy. I would totally date him.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, based on his looks.
Yeah. I wouldn't hook up with him because I'm not like that. You know, I need a commitment. But if I could get the commitment, I would hop on
Even
it.
if it was just a couple weeks. Commitment for a few weeks.
Absolutely.
Meet up, have a few trysts.
Yeah, and if you want to be like that to us, send a little money our way.
Yeah. If you're a female, you can have Sean, and if you're a male, you can have me.
You can have me as a possession.
as long as you put a ring on it.
Put a ring on that.
Actually, all of the stuff that we just said there on the train isn't true anymore. That all the stuff from the mall was recorded over a year ago now, beginning of December 2015. And I guess now the case is that
I've been told that we've got a statistically significant amount of donors compared to our total listener base. So if you think that our show is amazing and you want to like really throw off that ratio and like really show how much ass we kick compared to other podcasts, it's the perfect time to donate.
And there's bonus content there for donators, extra stuff. I have some outtakes from the communism episode I'm going to pop up there really soon. And yeah, thank you all so much for listening, and we will be back next week.
See you next week, you beautiful angels and beautiful little devils. Nothing wrong with that.
I am wrong, you are wrong, seriously. They are wrong, we are wrong, seriously.
Next time on Seriously Wrong, Sean and Aaron pretend to be someone they don't agree with for the whole time.
Do you want to see if that pet guy is still in the pet store?
Just like a walk past.
Let's record and like talk to each other while looking at him outside.
We can still see those sad puppies. Mm-hmm. They're like pretty far back in the pet store, but
look at them jump towards the glass like they really want to get out.
Yeah, maybe they trap them so that people will see how sad they are and want to like take them out of this horrible place.
Yeah. It's really the feeling I got.
Yeah.
I wanted to take them out of their cage at all costs. Play with them. Make them my little friend.
Oh man, imagine if the cops had been here for like a puppy jailbreak. That would have been a way better story. Like someone was like, free the puppies! And they were like breaking all the glass, letting the puppies out.
Yeah, no, that'd be a reason to bring out the shotties.
Puppy revolution.
We got word that 4 of the puppies have guns.